I grew up with Ethan Joe. We were childhood sweethearts. He took over his family business, while I went abroad for research. We made a promise to meet again in 3 years, each having reached the pinnacle of our respective paths. As the maple leaves fell, he handed me a glass of red wine to celebrate my return and success. I lowered my eyes to glance at the wine, then looked up at him. My eyes turned red at the corners. I drank it all in one go. As I began to lose consciousness, he carried me to another man's bed and pressed a solemn kiss to my forehead. Savannah Tang made a careless mistake. She accidentally provoked the Prince of Harbor City, Logan Pye. He made it clear he would only let Savannah go if I went to him instead. "I'm sorry," he said as he turned to leave. In that moment, I opened my eyes. My mind was filled with the question I had read the night before. Between the one who waited 3 years for you and the one who spent those 3 years with you, who would you choose? So tell me, Ginger, what are you really after? A deep voice came from the secret door in the room. A man stepped in, wearing a white shirt with a few buttons undone, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. It was Logan Pye, the Prince of Harbor City. We share the same parents, but only in name is he my brother. A year ago, my parents died in a sudden accident in Harbor City and left me in the care of the Pye family. Logan became my legal guardian, but no one in the capital knew about it, not even Ethan. I propped myself up on the bed. My tears had dried, but the corners of my eyes were still red. My gaze was hollow, devoid of spirit. Last night, Logan forwarded me a post titled, "Who would you choose? The one who waited 3 years, or the one who was with you for 3 years?" The story in the post felt painfully familiar. After college, Ethan and I agreed to chase our respective careers, to shine in our own fields and reunite at the top. Once I joined the research institute abroad, I was almost completely cut off from the outside world. The project was under the highest level of confidentiality. My coworkers often asked, "You've had a boyfriend back in the capital for this long? You don't worry that he'll stop loving you if you never contact him?" Their curiosity was genuine. I simply smiled sweetly and confidently, because I believed he wouldn't. Time and distance could never kill the love he had for me. I'd seen Ethan in his boldest, brightest moments. I was punished countless times just because I craved pastries from the Southern District and snuck out during curfews by climbing the wall. I'd seen him appear in Harbor City with an armful of flowers, just one day after he was still in the capital. He was vibrant and unruly, once broke a leg and got into fights just to protect me. The only time he was ever taken into custody was because someone had insulted me. He cornered that man in an alley and beat him within an inch of his life. That kind of boy gave me the most passionate and pure love. How could I ever believe he'd fall out of love? Bookmark. But in that post, even though everyone told Ethan that he truly loved me, his final line was, "I think maybe I'd choose the one who stayed with me for 3 years." A single sentence, yet it slashed my heart into pieces. "Logan, how do you expect me to move past this? Is this the truth about Ethan that you wanted me to see? That he chose Savannah Tang, the one who had been by his side for 3 years, and gave up on me?" I looked up at Logan. My eyes welled up with tears again. He sighed and came closer, leaned in slightly, and gently wiped the tears that were about to spill from my eyes. But no matter how tender his gesture, my heart couldn't stop aching. For 3 years, while Ethan laughed and talked with Savannah, I filled my journals with nothing but love for him. I longed for our reunion. I hoped that when the project ended, I could run into his arms again. But reality told me, somewhere along the way, Ethan stopped walking toward me. He bent down and picked a flower he liked more. Logan, my heart hurts so much. That moment I smelled the drugged wine. I wanted so badly to ask Ethan when exactly he stopped loving me. But I couldn't bring myself to say it. That sour ache lodged in my throat, choking me. I was afraid I'd lose control and break down crying. I was afraid I'd become the laughingstock of the entire capital. I sniffled and asked hesitantly, if I hadn't gone abroad back then, if I hadn't joined the research team, would things have been different? Logan cut me off. His tone turned firm, more serious than before. He cupped my face in his warm hands, his touch steady and unwavering. "You can love Ethan," he said, "but you can't give up on yourself for him. You told me yourself, you didn't want to be the kind of woman who clings to a man to feel whole. You have the ability to become the best version of yourself. So don't let a man who can't even control his own heart make you question who you are. You never made the wrong choice. Ethan did. He's the one who broke the promise. Every word from Logan landed on my chest like a 1,000-pound weight. I understood. I did. But I still couldn't let it go. Logan stayed with me all night, sitting in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. He drank with me, listened to me pour out all the bitterness bottled up in my heart. He was 5 years older than me, and a truly dependable big brother. When I woke up the next morning, my head was pounding. I sat up in bed, trying to piece together the events of the night before. Just as I was about to get up, Logan happened to push the door open. "You're not going to sleep a little longer?" he asked. I shook my head. No. Without saying a word, he picked up my slippers and knelt down. His palm, warm and rough, wrapped around my ankle. I froze for a second, startled by the unexpected intimacy. When I instinctively tried to pull my foot back, he gripped a little tighter and looked up at me. "I'm your brother." I mumbled a half-hearted, Then Logan added, "Ethan's been waiting downstairs for a while now. He wants to see you." His eyes lingered on me as his voice trailed off. I bit my lip without thinking and clenched my fists just a little. I shoved the ache in my chest back down and forced a smile onto my face. "Right now, I'm your little golden canary." Logan raised an eyebrow and let out a small, helpless laugh. "Fine, then how about this? Your brother's little canary is invited to a pool party tonight. You interested?" "I am," I replied with a smile. During my 3 years at the Research Institute, I barely had any freedom. Now that I could finally breathe a little, all I wanted was to relax and reset, get myself ready to dive back into my career. The party wasn't huge, but everyone there had status. Heiresses from prominent families, executives from high society. Since my parents passed away, the Tang family had been entrusted to Uncle Pengji. It hadn't fallen apart, but it wasn't the same either. I sat quietly in a corner, waiting for Logan when Ethan approached. His secretary, Savannah Tang, followed behind him. She was the one who had been with him for those 3 years. This was my first time seeing her in person. She wasn't exactly stunning by high society standards, but she had an understated beauty. Her figure was impressive, and she wore a backless gown that showed it off well. "I waited downstairs at the hotel for a long time last night," Ethan said. "You were drunk and I couldn't find you. Are you okay?" His voice was a little hoarse. I looked up and met his searching gaze. My body reacted before I could stop it. My nose stung slightly, my chest tightening. But I lifted my chin and tore through his weak lie with just a few words. "Ethan, I think you forgot. I'm a chemist, a pretty good one, and I trained for a pharmaceutical license, remember?" His expression faltered. Panic flickered across his eyes, but he suppressed it quickly. "So, you remember what happened last night?" he said quietly. "I admit I was wrong. I did you wrong, but I didn't have a choice." He lowered his head. "Savannah unintentionally offended the Pei family recently. Last night, Logan specifically asked for you. The Tang family still has standing in the capital. Logan wouldn't dare act recklessly." His fists clenched at his sides. His expression was conflicted but strangely certain, as if he wasn't sure whether he was trying to comfort me or himself. "And what about my reputation?" I asked. I held back my emotions and asked quietly, "What if it hadn't been Logan last night? What if it had been someone else? What would have happened to my reputation then?" Savannah Tang, who had been silent and overlooked for a long time, suddenly looked like she was about to cry. Her eyes were red, as if she were struggling to hold something back. A mocking smile tugged at the corner of my lips. I was the one who got hurt. I was the one betrayed by the person I loved. So what exactly was Savannah feeling so wronged about? "Miss Tang," she said, her voice low, "this is my fault. I didn't expect Ethan would try to protect me by." She trailed off, her voice choking. "Of course it's your fault." My tone was even. Ethan's expression didn't change. Clearly he hadn't expected me to point the finger directly at her. "I'm sorry. It's all because of me. Ethan only." Savannah suddenly bowed deeply as she apologized, her words subtly laced with implication. She kept calling him Ethan, like it was some sweet familiar habit. Ethan didn't say anything, but his brows furrowed tightly, a flicker of unease flashing in his eyes. When I didn't respond right away, he grabbed Savannah's arm and turned to me. Ginger, this has nothing to do with Savannah. I made the decision. So if you're angry, yell at me, hit me, do whatever you want. Just don't make things difficult for her. He stepped in front of her protectively, shielding her from me. He looked at me like I was the threat. I lifted my head and looked at Ethan, really looked at him for the first time since I came back. He hadn't changed much, still so handsome. But now there was a steadiness about him that hadn't been there before, and less love in his eyes. What a shame. The boy who once threw himself into chaos to protect me had become someone else's hero. The promises of youth in the end were too light to last. After a long silence, I finally spoke, my voice soft but firm. Ethan, let's break up. He looked stunned. Ginger, do you even know what you're saying? If the love is gone, then we should let each other go, I said with a light smile, feigning calm. We should break up with dignity, not turn it into a scandal that everyone talks about. After graduation, Ethan had planned an elaborate confession. He bought out every camellia painting in the city and lit fireworks all night, just for me. He said his little princess deserved the best the world had to offer. Even though we'd known each other since childhood, we didn't start our relationship on a whim. It was mutual, deliberate. We both worked hard. We gave it 3 years. People envied us. For a long time, we were the talk of the capital. A perfect love story. But Ethan's voice suddenly hardened, almost gritted. I don't agree to this breakup. Behind him, Savannah wobbled unsteadily, her tears finally falling. Still, she remained quiet, enduring, like a delicate little white flower refusing to wilt. Before I could say anything, she spoke, voice trembling. Then what am I? Yes, exactly. If we're not breaking up, what is Savannah to him? And what am I? He had already hurt me for someone else. So why still pretend to be deeply in love and full of regret? Ethan, I said coldly, since you chose Savannah, then I'll step aside. Savannah looked devastated, her expression twisted in pain and resolve as she turned and ran off, face buried in her hands. Savannah. Ethan instinctively took a step to chase after her, but then he seemed to remember I was still standing there. He stopped. His face was torn, complicated. We'll talk later, he said. Ginger, I owe Savannah too much. I'm sorry. Owe her? For what? For staying by his side for 3 years? But didn't I wait for 3 years too? I gave a bitter smile. And when I looked up again, the two of them had already vanished from my view. Brother, the show's over. You can come out now. I picked up the juice on the table and took a sip through the straw. It tasted sour and sharp. The taste hit my tongue, sharp and bitter. Logan, dressed in his usual loose white shirt, walked toward me with one hand in his pocket. His steps were steady, unhurried. Every socialite we passed gasped behind their hands as he went by. He rarely came to the capital, but his reputation, like that of a living devil, had arrived long before him. Ruthless, sharp, and never leaving loose ends. He was 30 this year, yet there wasn't a single woman by his side, not even one he pretended to keep around. Ethan, meanwhile, seemed to be regressing. Logan gave a cold laugh. I didn't respond. I only said, people change. Savannah isn't someone to underestimate, he said. She might not love Ethan, but she definitely loves his money. I didn't argue. He wasn't wrong. When Savannah ran off earlier, she glanced at me from the corner of her eye. There was calculation in her gaze, and a mocking smile on her lips. If nothing unexpected happened, I figured the news of her and Ethan being together would go public by tomorrow. My return had become a twist in their love story, a bitter, ironic plot device. I'm going back to Harbor City next week, Logan said, his gaze falling on me. The hand I held my glass with froze. Is there anything left in the capital for you? He asked, already knowing the answer. There's nothing, I said. My parents are gone. Ethan doesn't love me anymore. This city, it's no longer home. It didn't surprise me. What did was how fast Ethan acted. That very night he made it official with Savannah. His latest social media post read, "After hardship comes peace, and after clouds, the moon shines bright. Thank you." The picture showed him holding hands with Savannah. Our friend circles overlapped a lot. Some people, mistaking her for me, commented things like, finally. 3 years. When's the wedding? I can't wait to drink at your reception. Still smells like childhood sweethearts. Don't forget to invite me, Ethan. But Ethan quickly realized the confusion. He deleted the post, re-uploaded it with Savannah's name clearly mentioned, and added more affectionate couple photos. That's just who he is. When he loves someone, he gives them everything. He won't let them suffer even a scratch. He'll ignore gossip, face the world for them, show off their love without a second thought. He wants everyone to know he's in love with Savannah Tang. And me, Ginger Tang, I was just a reckless part of his youth. He messaged me privately. Ginger, these past 3 years, Savannah has been by my side, taking care of me. She's become the most important part of my life. I'm sorry, let's move on. My hand trembled uncontrollably. I tried to tell myself he had already let go, that he had forgotten me. But I couldn't convince myself. My eyes burned and big heavy tears splashed onto my phone screen. Was this closure, or just the end? 25 years of feelings drained away. I took a deep breath and forced a smile at my reflection, tired, messy, broken. I typed, "Okay." But when I hit send, all I got was a red exclamation mark. That tiny symbol shattered every last bit of the strength I had left. I thought I wouldn't hurt anymore. But my heart still clenched and ached, each beat a stab. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I broke down and cried. Loud, gut-wrenching sobs filled the room, bouncing off the silent walls. I didn't stop until Logan knocked on my door. He stood outside, the hallway dark, his shadow stretched long by the light in my room. "When you're done crying, just forget him," he said. "Ethan's not worth shit." I sniffled hard and messily wiped away my tears. Logan walked into the room, his deep eyes reflecting something I couldn't quite read. Holding a cup of warm milk, Logan spoke with a mocking tone. "You really liked Ethan that much? Was he really that good? Good enough to make you cry over and over?" He walked closer, set the milk down on the table and added, "He's just Ethan. He doesn't deserve you." I bit my lip and looked up, only to meet Logan's gaze directly. A second later, he planted both hands on the table, boxing me in with his arms. "Ginger, I know your feelings for Ethan aren't something you can just shut off overnight. Maybe you never will, but stop crying over him." My emotions were still sinking, heavy and sticky. I didn't want to deal with Logan right now. "Maybe," he said softly, "you could try turning around and see something new." Before I could process what he meant, Logan's handsome face suddenly loomed closer, so close it was almost overwhelming. My eyes widened in shock, my breath quickened, and my heart twisted with confusion. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could say anything, he raised a hand and gently wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. His voice dropped a few decibels, low and steady. "Ginger, I knew you liked Ethan, and I knew Ethan liked you. That's why I never had a chance. But now I want to give myself one." "You don't have to answer right now," he added. "I can wait." I was still in a daze, my voice hoarse when I finally whispered, "Logan? Yeah? I like you." He didn't hesitate. "I've liked you for a long time, from the moment I first saw you, from the first time you called me brother. But that first meeting had been so long ago. I was 16. It was at his birthday party. We had randomly ended up playing a duet on the piano together." I pressed my lips into a tight line and fell silent. Logan didn't push. He just gave a quiet, knowing smile and patted my head gently. "Ginger, I can wait." His confession exploded in my mind like a bomb. His words replayed in my head over and over, catching me off guard. I hadn't been ready for it, not at all. I had always seen Logan as a brother, never even once thought of him in any romantic way. I had planned to talk to him openly after we got back to Harbor City. But before I could say anything, the gossip exploded online. The rumors about me and Logan spread like wildfire. Heiress of the Tang family willingly becomes the prince's mistress. That headline climbed to the top of the trending list. There were photos too, shots of me and Logan together. Even leaked nudes. The media started digging into my background. It was the first time I had appeared in the public eye since coming back to China, and what a spectacle it turned out to be. Logan's mistress, Ethan's first love, one label after another. The comment section was unbearable. "Wait, wasn't Ginger with Ethan before? She cheated with Logan? That's hilarious. No wonder Ethan went public with another woman. Turns out Ginger cheated first. She disappeared 3 years ago, said she went abroad to study. Looks like Logan kept her overseas like a golden canary." Public opinion spiraled out of control fast. The Tang family came to me multiple times trying to dig for answers. I only told them I would handle it. They didn't press me further. Nor did they speak up on my behalf. The scandal kept growing. Eventually, Ethan called me. The number was unfamiliar, but I still picked up. "Ginger, are you okay?" His familiar voice echoed in my ear. I thought I'd lose control again, the way I had days before. But surprisingly, my heart had grown calm. Maybe letting go really could happen in an instant. "Thanks for your concern," I replied politely, keeping my tone distant. Silence fell on the other end of the line, broken only by the sound of his heavy breathing. After a long pause, he finally said, "This whole thing, it's my fault. I'll handle the rumors." "Ethan," I interrupted. "Only 4 people, including me, knew about what happened between Logan and me." My voice was calm, controlled. Ethan's tone shot up. "You think I leaked it?" He sounded shocked, incredulous. I said nothing. He laughed bitterly. "Ginger, we've known each other for over 10 years. You really think I'd do that?" "I used to believe you, Ethan." I truly did. I hung up on Ethan and immediately blocked the number. He and I had grown up together. Even if he had chosen Savannah, the bond we shared for all those years wasn't fake. He didn't need to go so far, and he certainly didn't need to throw himself into the middle of a scandal like this. As for Logan, this was our plan from the beginning. Whether it was real or not, we both knew the truth. But there was still one person who didn't. Ethan used another number to send me a text. "Ginger, I'll find out who did this. But the fact that you suspect me really breaks my heart." I couldn't hold back a bitter laugh. Breaks his heart? Did he ever consider my feelings when he did everything he did? When Logan returned to the villa that night, he was unusually flustered. His steps were quick, his breathing just a bit uneven. At that moment, I had just stepped out of the study after finishing a project report. I had no idea the tide of public opinion had turned completely upside down. I looked up, and Logan's long arms swept me into his embrace. He held me tight, too tight, like he was afraid I might slip away. I could barely breathe. "Let me hold you. Just for a bit," he murmured hoarsely. His assistant had followed close behind. When he saw Logan hugging me like that, he awkwardly rubbed his nose and turned away to give us privacy. After a few long seconds, Logan finally loosened his grip. "I've been in meetings all day," he said, his voice still shaky. "I saw what happened online. I already have people handling it. I'm sorry, Ginger." His voice trembled slightly, laced with guilt. I blinked at him, confused, then looked up and asked sweetly, "Logan, what are you so afraid of?" He pressed his lips together, struggling to answer. His eyes, however, became even more complicated as he looked at me. The assistant cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "It's my fault," he said awkwardly. "I accidentally mentioned a girl who got cyberbullied so badly she fell into depression and eventually took her own life." The moment Mr. Pei heard that, he rushed straight back from the company. Logan's expression turned stiff. His movements became tense and unnatural. I studied him carefully. I used to think he worried about me because of my parents, that it was just a big brother's natural protectiveness. After he confessed his feelings, I thought our relationship would become strained. But in reality, nothing had changed. So, was he really afraid I'd take my own life? All because of those online rumors? I moved closer and looked up at him. His breathing caught slightly. "I believe you," I said. "I know you wouldn't do anything to hurt me, but I don't want to be sad because of this either." "Then you'd better protect me well, big brother." I gave him a small smile. Logan blinked, caught off guard for a second. Then he smiled back and gently patted my head, like he always did, so naturally. As for the photo scandal, I posted a photo on my social media that had been taken during a university event when I was interviewed by a student journalist. Anyone who knew me knew I had a butterfly-shaped birthmark on my shoulder blade. On the day of the interview, I'd worn an off-shoulder gown, and the journalist had happened to capture a photo showing my back. That photo had been public knowledge for years, but the nude photo that had been leaked, it wasn't me. Debunking the rumor was easy. What I didn't expect was for Logan to make a public statement under the Pei Group's official account. A confession. "Ginger Tang has been the girl I've secretly loved for a long time." That sentence caused an instant media explosion. The cold-blooded prince of Harbor City, known as the devil himself, declaring his love, his clean, devoted love, sent fans into a frenzy. Overnight, public opinion flipped, and the real culprit quickly exposed. Savannah. She had feared I'd steal Ethan back, feared he still couldn't forget me. So she tried to destroy my reputation, paid off paparazzi, hired a stand-in, orchestrated the leak. Such a cheap move, and yet Ethan had still chosen to stand by her. He even offered me 13% of the Zhou Corporation's shares just to protect her. I refused. I sued her directly. But what I didn't expect was for Savannah to come find me herself. "Just say it," I said coolly. "What do you want from me?" Savannah clutched the hem of her shirt tightly, eyes burning with resentment and frustration. "Why won't you leave me alone? Why do you have to destroy me?" The cafe was dead silent. I raised my head and looked directly at her. It had only been a few days, but even the heavy makeup couldn't hide how exhausted she looked. "And you?" I asked, my voice calm but sharp. "There's nothing between us, no history, but you made me the target of all this. Am I not allowed to defend myself?" My cold gaze swept over her. "Because Ethan has always loved you," she blurted. I froze for a moment, hands still holding my coffee cup. Savannah let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. "Ethan might be able to lie to himself, but he can't lie to me. He doesn't love me. Ginger, I stayed by his side for 3 years. I was there through the worst of it. When he was sick, I didn't sleep a night. I took care of him. When he was drunk, I brought him sobering soup in the middle of the night. When something happened, I was always the first one there. But he doesn't love me." Her voice grew louder, more desperate, eyes reddening, her fists clenched under the table. "What gives him the right not to love me?" I looked at her and asked quietly, "So why did you come back?" She snapped, her laugh hollow and full of pain. "You ruined everything I built, everything I worked so hard to protect. Just by showing up, you turned all my efforts into nothing. Worthless." I couldn't help the mocking smile that curled on my lips. "You're upset, and I'm not supposed to be. Ethan and I had known each other since birth, 22 years, if you don't count the 3 we spent apart. We were family, friends, lovers, and yet, even knowing we were together, you still chose to interfere. So what right do you have to complain about being the victim here?" I set my coffee down, reached into my bag, and pulled out a file folder, sliding it across the table to her. Savannah's expression faltered, turning sour. I stared at her and said clearly, "Just because I'm gentle doesn't mean I'm easy to bully." She took the folder, opened it, and her pupils dilated. She looked up at me in disbelief. Ever since the pool party, I'd had my suspicions, so I had someone dig into her background. Everything she presented to the public was fake. Ethan had never done a proper background check on her. Savannah's real name was Sherry Zhao. She'd been married at 16. Later, she faked her own death and escaped from the mountains. She was a woman who clawed her way up from nothing, and she was desperate to climb higher. There was nothing wrong with that. There's even nothing wrong with using other people's bones as your ladder. But her mistake was not having the power to knock others down, and pretending she did anyway. "You're talented," I said, "smart even, but you used your cunning in all the wrong ways." With that, I picked up my bag and left the cafe. Savannah sat frozen in place, stunned and speechless. At the villa on the outskirts of town, I was rolling my suitcase out the gate on my way to the airport when Ethan jumped out of his car and rushed over. He reached out to stop me, eyes fixed on my luggage. "Where are you going?" I smiled politely. "I don't think that's any of your business, Mr. Zhou." He looked shocked. You called me Mr. Zhou." "Ginger, we're childhood sweethearts. Since when do you call me Mr. Zhou?" His expression was filled with disbelief. I found it laughable. He had blocked me first. He was the one who said to move on. And yet, just a few days later, he acted like none of that had ever happened. "What do you want from me?" I asked, keeping my tone even. My voice was calm, emotionless. Ethan's face darkened. "Why didn't you ever tell me you knew Logan?" Ethan asked, his voice tight. "And you never said you had family here these past 3 years either." His face had gone a little pale. I took a deep breath, pressed my lips together, then forced a calm smile. "Ethan," I said gently but firmly, "whatever is between Logan and me has nothing to do with you anymore. You came here today because of Savannah, didn't you?" I must have hit the mark because his brow furrowed. The Zhou family held influence in the capital. If you wanted to protect Savannah, it would have been easy. But I had the Tang family behind me, and Logan. "So what? You expect me to let go of everything?" To brush this all under the rug and forgive and forget? I narrowed my eyes. Ethan, have you forgotten? I never owed you anything. And I especially don't owe Savannah anything. If she's bold enough to come after me, she'd better be prepared to face the consequences. As the last word left my lips, I no longer cared about Ethan's expression. I rolled my suitcase past him. He instinctively reached out and grabbed my arm. You're going to Harbor City with Logan? His tone was resolute, but his eyes betrayed something deeper: regret, maybe even fear. Your home is here in the capital, he said, lips parting like he wanted to say more. I just smiled. But there's no one here I want to stay for anymore. I got into the car. Through the window, I saw Ethan still standing in place, frozen, as if the weight of what I just said hadn't hit him until now. His eyes were empty, unfocused. I had no idea what he was thinking, until the car engine roared to life and the exhaust trailed behind us. That was when he snapped out of it. In a daze, he scrambled into his own car and slammed the gas pedal to the floor. Even he didn't know why he was chasing after mine. All he knew was that if he didn't go after me now, this might be the end. Forever. And he couldn't bear that. Just the thought that I might never belong to him again, it tore him apart. After we graduated from college, we thought we had forever ahead of us. But it only took 3 years of separation for everything to change. Those 3 years, he missed me terribly. I was in his dreams, in his drunken thoughts. He counted down the days. Every single day, he pushed himself forward, non-stop like a machine. The moment he paused, loneliness crept in like a monster, swallowing him whole. Until he met Savannah at a business dinner. She didn't stand out in a crowd, but there was something about her that reminded him of me. Her determination, her clarity, the way she never flinched, even when old industry veterans tried to drink her under the table. I'll drink, she'd said, but only if you agree to my terms in the contract. That one sentence caught his attention. He kept finding little pieces of me in her. That's why he kept her close. Gave her special treatment, something even he didn't realize he was doing. Savannah attended every event with him, took care of every detail. She never complained, never asked for more. And over time, he noticed the way she looked at him. The respect turned into affection. Eventually, into love. He saw it. He knew it, but he didn't dare return it. Because he still loved me. The closer it got to my return, the more anticipation turned to fear. A week before I came back, he posted a question on a social platform. He was lost. He didn't know whether he loved Savannah or me. One waited 3 years, the other stayed by his side for 3 years. Eventually, he thought he'd figured it out. He chose Savannah, but somehow everything veered off course. The night he made it official with Savannah, he didn't want to post anything. But Savannah had said, back then when you were with Ginger, the whole world knew. Your love was loud and proud. Why is it that with me, it has to be quiet? You won't even post one photo. And she was right. Why? He had chosen Savannah, hadn't he? So in the end, he posted it. But the moment Ethan posted it, he realized something wasn't right. Everyone was congratulating him for being with me. Comment after comment, blessing after blessing, came pouring in. And reading them stirred something in him. It hurt in a way he didn't expect. After the storm, the moon finally shines through the clouds. But what about his Ginger? They'd waited for each other for 3 years. How had it all come to this? Ethan couldn't make sense of it. The more he looked at the comments, the more shaken he felt. He was so lost in thought that he didn't even notice Savannah crying beside him until she tugged his sleeve to bring him back to reality. He deleted the post. Then, at Savannah's urging, he reposted it, this time with carefully posed photos of the two of them looking like a couple. She even sent it from her own account and messaged me directly. By the time Ethan found out, it was too late. Savannah had already blocked me. Later, he told himself maybe that was for the best. He'd made his choice. It was over with me, wasn't it? But every night, he couldn't sleep. The insomnia, the restlessness, it drained him. When the scandal about me exploded online, his heart nearly stopped. He knew, without a doubt, I wasn't that kind of person. But the thought of me being insulted, attacked, it was unbearable. He grabbed his assistant's phone and called me. And I suspected it was him. That moment filled him with a kind of despair and frustration he couldn't contain. Was everything we had, Decades of memories, so fragile that one misunderstanding could shatter it. He wanted to argue, to explain. But then I said, I used to trust you. And just like that, something inside him crumbled. He pulled every string he had to control the narrative, to find out who was behind it all. When he saw Logan's public confession and found out it had all been Savannah's doing, he locked himself in his office for an entire afternoon, smoking non-stop until his hands started to shake. He realized then he'd been completely, devastatingly wrong. Regret consumed him like a monster, swallowing him whole. He wanted to come find me, but Savannah got to him first. She dropped to her knees at his side, crying. I didn't mean to, she sobbed. I just wanted to teach her a lesson. I just wanted her to stay away from you. Ethan, Ginger's gonna sue me. She wants me blacklisted. Please, save me. Tears streamed down her face. She was nothing like the composed woman he thought he knew, and for the first time he wondered, how had he ever mistaken her for someone like Ginger? They weren't the same. Not even close. He didn't want to get involved anymore. But in the end, he caved. He told himself it would be the last time. After this, he'd cut ties completely. Everything that had happened recently had made one thing painfully clear. He had never stopped loving me. Then, now, always. He thought maybe if he just apologized, if he could coax me a little, I'd come back. After all, weren't childhood sweethearts meant to be together? Weren't they fated? But what he didn't expect was that I had become like a kite whose string had snapped, gone, untouchable. Ginger, Ethan chased after me, disheveled, desperate. When he stopped in front of me, I frowned. If this is about Savannah, I said flatly, I suggest you get in touch with a lawyer. It's not about Savannah, he blurted. He reached out for my hand, but I stepped aside, guarded. His arm froze midair. Please, don't go, don't leave for Harbor City, he begged, his voice shaking. Stay. Just stay. We haven't seen each other in 3 years. You've been back for a while now and we still haven't had a real conversation. Can't we just talk? I was losing patience. What do you want, Ethan? He hesitated, then forced a bitter smile. What if I said I just realized it's always been you? That I've only ever loved you? Would that change anything? No, I cut him off, voice calm, firm, and just like that, all the pretense dropped from his face. His eyes turned red, his body trembling slightly. Ginger, I was wrong, Ethan said, his voice cracking. I don't love Savannah. I only ever saw her as a reflection of you. I didn't see my own heart clearly. I looked at him calmly. If it had been the old me, seeing Ethan like this would have torn me apart. I would have felt heartache, maybe even pity. But now, there was nothing. My heart didn't stir at all. Not far away, I saw Logan striding toward me from the branch terminal. He wore a black trench coat, his tall frame cutting clean through the crowd with long, purposeful strides. As I moved to walk past Ethan and toward Logan, Ethan suddenly grabbed my arm, hard. Ginger, he said, panicked. I stopped and stared coldly at him. Ethan, you're an adult. You should know what's appropriate and what's not. I don't know, he said, eyes wild. I just know I can't let you leave with Logan. Logan reached us then, his gaze sharp as a blade as it swept over Ethan. Ethan glared back, his expression stormy, his posture tense with hostility. Logan, Ginger isn't going with you. When I gave her to you back then, that was my mistake, and now I'm going to fix it. Logan let out a low, mocking laugh. His eyes sparkled with defiance, his tone cocky and unbothered. Your mistake was falling for her in the first place. Logan? Ethan snapped, his jaw clenched, his fists curled tight at his sides. You can have anything you want, anything except Ginger. Logan didn't reply. He simply looked at me then, without warning, swung a fist and punched Ethan hard across the face. Caught off guard, Ethan stumbled back from the impact. His fury ignited instantly. Logan, you son of a... The two of them started throwing punches right there in the airport lobby. 2 men over 6 feet tall, swinging and crashing into each other as stunned travelers scrambled out of the way. I stepped back, letting them go at it for a moment before raising my hand and waving over the patrolling officers nearby. Break it up, one of the officers shouted, rushing in with his partner to pull them apart. Neither of them gave in easily, but it was obvious Ethan took the worst of it. Logan had been aiming for his face, his jaw was bleeding, and his expression was distorted in pain. He didn't hold back. Logan's assistant stepped in to deal with the aftermath. In the VIP lounge, Logan sat beside me, his large warm hand wrapped tightly around mine. The gesture was deliberately intimate. I could tell he did it on purpose. Ethan sat across from us, his eyes locked on our joined hands like they burned him. "Ginger," he said through gritted teeth, "do you really believe Logan could love you? Do you know what kind of person he is?" I raised my head and looked him dead in the eye. "Ethan, that drug and the wine at Maple Banquet, I gave it to Logan." His expression froze. He stared at me in shock, color draining from his face. His lips moved, but no sound came out. "The night before I returned to the country," I continued, "I saw the post you shared. The one who waited 3 years and the one who stayed for 3 years. Who would you choose?" I pulled my diary from my bag and placed it on the table in front of him. "It's filled with everything I wrote about you. 3 years of love. 3 years of waiting." I didn't look away as I said, "Yes, I set up a trap with Logan that night. It was manipulative, maybe even cruel, but it worked." Ethan shook his head violently. He wanted to deny it, to say it wasn't like that, but the truth had already taken root. The results couldn't be undone. "When I found out you chose Savannah," I said quietly, "I questioned my decision. I thought maybe if I hadn't gone abroad, things wouldn't have turned out like this." "But no," I said. "If it hadn't been Savannah, it would have been someone else, Jenna, or Lila, or whoever came next. Savannah's appearance was a wake-up call, a reminder." "So Ethan, there's no going back." "No, Ginger, he tried to explain, but the words caught in his throat. "I just didn't see clearly," he whispered, defeated. I gave him a faint smile. The Ethan I used to know never had trouble seeing clearly. Even if it killed him, he used to protect me from everything. But now, at 25, Ethan had learned how to weigh options, how to choose the optimal solution. Back then, he could have risked everything he had. Ethan gone all in to fight Logan for me. But he didn't dare. Sacrificing me was the safest choice. Logan and I still boarded the plane to Harbor City. As we left, I caught a final glimpse of Ethan holding my diary, crying like a child. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. Goodbye, Ethan. After I left, Ethan sat in the VIP lounge night after night, flipping through that diary. All those sweet memories from before, all the hidden pieces of love she had buried deep inside herself. Every moment she documented during her loneliness and longing, they wove into a sharp, tangled net that tore his heart to shreds. While he had drifted away in those 3 years, Ginger's love for him had only grown more solid. August 23rd, just arrived in Country A. Everything feels so unfamiliar. I wish Ethan were here. Should have convinced him to study this major with me. But he'd probably get a headache just trying to pronounce these chemical terms. Haha, Ethan's more suited to be a CEO. He can make the money, I'll do the research. August 24th. It's only my 2nd day here, but it already feels like I've been apart from Ethan for forever. 1 day apart feels like 3 years. I miss him. August 26th. A coworker asked me who Ethan was, said I mumbled his name all night in my sleep. Ethan. Ethan is the love of my life. September 1st. Even people here know Ethan's name now. They're all asking for wedding candy. I told them, just wait, 3 years from now I'll bring you cake and wine at our wedding. September 10th. An experiment failed today. My head hurts, I'm frustrated, but just looking at Ethan's picture made me feel better. Ethan, you're my medicine. When I'm back, I'm giving you a Best Boyfriend award. October 2nd. So busy I almost forgot to miss Ethan today. My coworker asked, what if Ethan cheats on you one day? I laughed. Ethan? Cheat on me? I'd sooner believe the sun went out. I scolded him quietly. He said I have love brain cancer. October 10th. Small progress on the project today, but a giant leap closer to being with Ethan again. December 30th. New Year's Eve. Wonder who Ethan is spending it with. I'm just here with lab equipment. Boo-hoo. January 4th. My advisor had to make a trip back to China. I asked him to check in on Ethan. When he returned, he said Ethan's doing well, but the tone in his voice, it was off. He told me not to overthink it. What happened, Ethan? By the time Ethan reached this part, he was sobbing uncontrollably. That same day, after a corporate dinner, Ginger's advisor came to find him. The man's gaze was sharp, lingering for a beat too long on Savannah standing behind him. The advisor didn't say anything, but his eyes said everything. Ethan panicked, instinctively reached out, grabbing the man's arm to explain, she's just my assistant. There's nothing between us. The advisor offered only a polite smile and pointed to the lipstick stain on Ethan's collar. Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came. Before he left, the advisor said softly, "Back in the capital, everyone talks about you and Ginger. She really loves you. I hope you won't do anything to hurt her." Ethan nodded, just barely. But in the end, he didn't listen. He hurt Ginger and destroyed the bond they were supposed to cherish forever. Carefully, Ethan closed the diary. Back at the office, he was prepared to end things with Savannah once and for all, until he got the news. Ginger had withdrawn the lawsuit. She was still so kind. Even though she'd suffered the most, she just let it go. When he found Savannah, she looked hollow, like a puppet that had lost its strings, sitting on the floor, staring at the screen with tears falling silently. "I'll give you some money," Ethan said. "Leave the capital, go anywhere you want." Savannah gave a broken smile. "Ethan? I regret it," Savannah whispered through her tears. "I regret ever coming into your life. I regret falling in love with you. I regret hurting Ginger." This was never how it was supposed to be. She sobbed as she spoke. Ethan stood there, frozen, watching her unravel. She had clawed her way up from the bottom, always chasing the light. But in the end, she had lost herself in the pursuit of fame and gain, becoming someone even she couldn't recognize. One wrong step had led to another until she was too deep to turn back. Ethan wanted to comfort her. He raised his hand, reaching toward her, but it stopped midair. Was this really her fault? No. He was the one who had let it all happen. He had allowed Savannah to cross line after line, and in doing so, everything that followed had become inevitable. But he never expected what came next. Savannah took her own life. Years passed. It was 5 years later when Ethan saw Ginger again. By then, she had become a leading figure in her field. A photo of her in a white lab coat, gloves on, safety goggles over her eyes, conducting experiments in a sterile lab, had gone viral. She was everyone's ideal, elegant, dedicated, brilliant. The one who had always represented pure, unwavering light. In her eyes was nothing but calm focus and a deep love for her work. 5 years earlier, after Ginger and Logan returned to Harbor City, they only stayed for a month before heading back to Country A. She remained at the Research Institute for 4 years straight, never leaving once. Ethan had visited Country A once, but the only person he saw near the Research Institute was Logan. The moment they ran into each other, Ethan's face betrayed his shock. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Classified research," Logan said with a smirk. "You won't get to see her." "You came all this way knowing that?" Logan smiled lazily, voice tinged with sarcasm. "I can't see her, sure. But I miss her. Being closer, even if she doesn't know, makes me feel better. Maybe she'll feel it too. I've stood here so many times," he added. "Strange that I've never seen you before." In that moment, Ethan froze. He realized something sharp and painful. That 3-year promise. Ginger had kept it. She'd even asked her advisor to check in on him. But he had never once stepped foot into her world. Never once visited Country A. On the day of Ginger and Logan's wedding, Ethan was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer. The doctor said that with conservative treatment, he might live for a few more months. Holding the report in his hands, his heart felt like it was being carved open. After they broke up, he had drowned himself in alcohol. His body had been deteriorating ever since. Still, he went to the wedding, brought a gift. He stood at the back of the crowd, silent, watching. Logan, Harbor City's prince, gave Ginger the ring. He kissed her in front of everyone, and Ginger's face glowed with joy, a radiant, peaceful happiness. But that moment, that smile, it was supposed to be his. Logan had given Ginger everything she deserved, and he had remained spotless all these years. No scandals, no women. Even in the most decadent circles, he stayed clean. Compared to that, Ethan's love was nothing worth showing, not anymore.